Well, the songwriting process is something that's very difficult to explain because it's very spiritual. It's, you're really just in the hands of God, and it's as if it's been written already. That's the real truth. As if it's been written in its entirety before you were born, and you're just really the source through which the songs come. Really, because they just fall right into your lap in its entirety. You don't have to do much thinking about it. And I feel guilty having to put my name sometime on the songs that I do write them. And I compose them, I write them, I do the scoring, I do the lyrics, I do the melodies. But still, it's the work of God.
Starting Something was wild, you know, it was just...
Wanna Be Starting Something has the frenetic percussion of Off the Wall, which is amazing because it's like you have these incredibly tight drum grooves and these program beats now. I think that's why for me, Wanna Be Starting Something is still my favorite.
I remember just being able to go out and do the demo at Havenhurst, yeah. He had it before we got there, and then he just, shared it with us, and we worked out the parts.
Because it's so rhythmic and all that. So he knew the sound, he knew the rhythm that he wanted to hear and everything. So, like I said, we were quick.
There's a certain approach, you want to take to emphasize the feeling. I would say that Quincy helped glue those elements together and make an arc out of the progression of how the song started to the vamp at the end, and made it seamless, including horns, which, of course, at first thought would be considered too jazzy, but they blended perfectly well in the song later on.
But there's still that. And then at the end, when it goes a cappella to that as a DJ, that is your best friend, because then you start to mix in your next record and blending in whatever the biggest songs you have.
As a matter of fact, I asked him what Mama Say, Mama Sa, Mama Kusa meant. Why it was going down. He's, it don't mean nothing, just sing it, And
There it is, because that was difficult to do, I'm telling you. He said, I like singing with you all because you sound like me. He always thought our voices blended so well with his.
Wanna Be Starting Something was like an opportunity to kind of get into his mind. And this idea of like Billie Jean, and the fact that he was living kind of in this world where you didn't really know what was real or wasn't.
She told me I was alone in bed, and I begged to say it. She called my name, then she said hello. All then and done. Gotta say, gotta go, gotta ride. It seems that you do my baby.
My mom had just bought a stereo system and it had lights. The drums kicked in. Then, I mean, what? And I ran down the hallway just to hear closely what was playing, what this record was. And it was Billie Jean, and it was on and popping from there.
It's actually kind of nasty, and you can hear the room mics, and it's dirtier than you think.
You always have that moment where you fall in love with an artist for the first time. Really, truly great, legendary artists, you have that same feeling over and over and over again. Billie Jean was that moment where I fell in love with Michael all over again. When Michael sings it, he puts the funk into it the way he does all the and all the little stuff that he puts in, that gives it the syncopation. And if I just go boom, 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 he's gonna go.
She was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. I sure don't mind, but what do you mean? I am the one who would dance on the floor and around. She said, I am the one who would dance on the floor and around. She told me her name was Billie Jean, and she caused a scene. Then heavy hair turned with the ice dream.
Everybody loves toxic R&B. Billie Jean's not my lover, she's just a girl who claims that I'm the one. Yeah, that's like, was it his side chick? You know what I'm saying? Was it some chick who, you know, he had an encounter with and got pregnant? Is this real? Is this some delusional fan who is saying that, you know, they had an encounter that they did or did? All of those things just led you to be more intrigued about an artist, right?
But it was like urgent and R&B. It was crazy. It was an amazing R&B record, and his lyrics, you know, the kid is not my son. I mean, the kid is not my son. That, first of all, we like bad boys, so that made us love him some more. And then when I saw the video, I was losing my mind. I lost my voice screaming.
You know, it was about Billie Jean, you know, him stepping on, you know, the pavement, glowing and, you know, making you feel the magic.
I'd storyboarded that he would walk down this street and the paving stones would light up. And I showed him which 11 paving stones we could afford to have light up, and therefore which ones couldn't. And he looked carefully at them, and I said, well, should we rehearse it? And he said, no, let's just do it. And we ran the playback, the music, and the chorus kicked in for Billie Jean, and he began his dance movement down that street, and I'll never forget it. The camera actually steamed up. I could hardly even see him through the eyepiece because it was so exciting to watch.
Michael is doing so much moving that Steve isn't even getting. There are several shots in Billie Jean where he's just being shot from the waist up, and you can just see him doing all kinds of stuff, and it's like, why aren't you getting that? But that's just how new the medium was to capturing dancers. Michael opened the door for that.
And every time they just kept freezing him in those brackets, and every time he walked and they froze him, and every time he said something, I was losing my mind because I loved him so much. But on Billie Jean, we was like, oh, he is super duper duper sexy.
MTV refused to play Billie Jean. They said, well, our network appeals to, you know, white teenagers, and this just really doesn't fit our format.
This is it. Welcome to MTV Music Television. I'm Mark Goodman.
I'm Martha Cole.
I'm Alan Hunter. You'll never look at music the same way again.
Turn it on. Leave it on. America, see the music you want to see.
I want my MTV. Some prominent black musicians are complaining that they are being left out of the video market, specifically the music, television, cable operation.
It occurred to me, having watched MTV over the last few months, that it's a solid enterprise, and it's got a lot going for it. I'm just floored by the fact that there's so few black artists featured on it. Why is that?
The fact is, quite frankly, we're a rock and roll station.
MTV will deny this till the world ends, that they had nothing against black artists. But they refused to play Michael.
In 1975, I was named president of the CBS Records Group and a vice president of CBS Inc. No single record changed the business and my life as powerfully as Michael Jackson's Thriller. I screamed bloody murder when MTV refused to air his videos. They argued that their format, white rock, excluded Michael's music. I argued they were racist assholes.
So Walter Yetnikoff said, really, okay, if you don't play Michael Jackson, I'm pulling Billy Joel and everybody else that I have off of MTV.
I've never been more forceful or obnoxious. I've also never been as effective. With added pressure from Quincy Jones, they caved in. And in doing so, the MTV color line came crashing down.
One of the most important things about Thriller was the doors that it opened for other artists to have the opportunity to get on the pop charts. Tina Turner, my God, Private Dancer. That's who it was. It was Tina, it was Lionel, it was Whitney, it was Michael, and Prince. Revenues could just be crazy.
Thriller changes the dynamic in the culture. Michael shows the way that this is possible.
Yeah, I grew up during the time that Thriller was released, and MTV was just becoming a really big thing. I remember almost more vividly the amazing storytelling through the videos, which is pretty interesting because I think here we are 40 years later, and the music and the video is coming to life again for the next generation on TikTok. Michael Jackson's music has been available on TikTok since August 2020. I think there's a real rebirth of the music and the video from these songs on the album, and it is this new generation that's being exposed or engaging with the music. There are about 10 million video creations on TikTok right now that include music from Thriller. There are 17 billion views of those 10 million videos that exist. There are about 2 billion likes on those videos, so people putting a little thumbs up or sharing or doing something to say, I'm excited about this, I'm engaging with this music. Pretty massive numbers. They're hearing it for the first time. They're like, you know, it's the same feeling we maybe had when we watched the MTV video for Thriller or Beat It. They're having that same experience 40 years later, but rather than just watch, they're actually then making something to engage with that music.